Hey everybody, it's Matt Shue at Upright Health here with my buddy Josh Hash.
What's up, guys?
Today we are going to be talking about hip internal rotation. We're going to talk about 2.5 stretches to help you get better hip internal rotation. This is a really important topic for me because hockey requires really good hip internal rotation, and that's something that I've always looked at. Also, just being able to throw a kick requires pretty good control over hip rotation externally and internally, so it's definitely something that I've thought of a lot, and I've lost my internal rotation over the years, so it's something that I've been working on. Josh, too, you've been working on
Right,
yours,
yeah.
right?
Yeah, I think a lot of motions, if you have a good range of internal rotation, it's going to help, right? And one is squatting, right? So if you're looking to squat deeper, take a look at your internal rotation, and this might help you achieve deeper depth.
Sweet. All right, so
Deeper
let's... What?
Deeper depth.
Deeper depth?
Deeper depth.
All right,
a little
so
redundant.
let's look at some ways of increasing this hip internal rotation. All right, so the first position we're going to go into is sitting on a box or your couch or a bench, something where you have some room to be able to put your leg back. So you can see Josh has his thigh coming out and pointing basically away from the direction his face and his chest are pointing. So it's like a 90-degree angle here. And then his knee is bent at about 90 degrees, so his foot is then pointing back that way. Okay, so basically what you're doing is forcing internal rotation at the hip while you also have a little bit of abduction, which just makes this a little less stressful on the knee and makes it possible for you to even get that little bit of internal rotation. So one of the things we like to do with people at this point is a lot of times they'll start getting cramping or something in the hip. That's fine. You just need to get used to it a little bit. As long as you don't feel any pressure at the knee, you're probably going to be fine. So then, Josh, let's use your right hand and let's put that on top of your knee. So this is actually just a little way of getting the muscles around the hip to learn and get used to stabilizing the joint in an awkward position. And Josh, let's pretend your hand is made of concrete or lead or something.
It is.
Oh. He's been taking boxing lessons. And go ahead and try to lift the knee. Yep. So the hand is basically, like you said, a hand of stone. He's pushing down, and he's not allowing the knee to come up. So he's just doing a little bit of an isometric contraction, and then relax it. And he's just doing them for counts of 3 to 5. So what muscles do you feel working right now?
A lot of muscles just right here in the, this corner of the hip here.
Right. So looking at like glute med, TFL. Firing up to help actually in this position and this motion actually getting external rotation from an internally rotated position. So we're just training those muscles to be able to control this range so he feels a little safer. Then we're going to do the internal rotation. So after we've done about 3 to 5, maybe even 10 if we're feeling really mean, you go ahead and take your hand and you can put it back on the ankle. Right? And then when Josh tries to lift his foot and ankle off of the box, he's going to be resisting. So his hand again is made of stone, it's made of lead, and he's trying to lift that foot up. And then what are you going to feel here, or what do you feel here, Josh?
Feel the same area.
Same area, so keep on pushing up, and then push down with the hand. So basically, again, we're isometrically contracting. We're using some of these hip muscles along the side of your hip joint superior to the greater trochanter. And then go ahead and relax, and you go ahead and take your hands to the front of the box so you can just kind of help balance yourself, the right hand to the front. And then that foot, we're going to now actually try to do some internal rotation. So Josh is going to try to lift the foot up, trying to minimize the amount of lean that he's doing, right? So when you first start doing this might be super, super tough. You're very likely to get cramping around the butt and around the TFL, glute med, and maybe even near glute max. How's that feeling there?
It's hard. It's very hard.
Yep. So pretty hard there, but Josh is able to get that foot up a little bit, so working on a little bit of strength to improve that range of motion. Now, if we want to even further improve the strength, what we can do is actually take a weight here, just throw it on top of his ankle, and then Josh is going to try to lift. And there he starts to break contact with the surface. Yeah, boom, and it's coming up, So this is a really good way to build strength into terms of internal rotation. Just throwing a little bit of weight on there and just make sure you always feel it as work in the hip joint, or around the hip joint, not deep in the joint. Feeling okay?
All right.
If you want to get more of a passive stretch, what you can do is also be in the same position. And Josh is just going to show you a quick little thing he can do to get a stretch. Ta-da! So he just grabs his foot, grabs his ankle, and starts lifting up. And then where do you feel this?
All right. Here.
That whole same area again. Yeah, so basically it's more of a passive motion, right? It's basically using his arm to increase the internal rotation in his hip joint, and it can feel pretty safe here. If we want, we can also try to increase that range or even sink into it a little bit more by just putting a little thing there to force his hip into hip internal rotation. And if Josh wants to lean back, he can lean back a little bit, and that will increase the amount of rotation at the hip joint. Feeling good?
Feeling good, man. Stay here all day.
All right, well, you're going to have to.
So this next internal rotation exercise that we're going to do is we're going to do a 90-90 position on the floor. So this position is a little bit more convenient, especially if you don't have a platform to sit on like we were using in the previous exercise. But this is going to require your hips to already get into a little bit more internal rotation from just sitting down into this. So what you might find if you don't have quite a bit, then you're going to be kind of leaned over like Matt is here. And if you're all the way over here, and this is kind of too challenging for you, we can semi-replicate the platform by just propping your hip up on something, right? So we throw a couple little mats under some mats under Matt's hip here.
This is 3 mats.
Right, 3 mats. Now we elevate the hip. Now you can sit into that internal rotation a little bit easier, right? But where we would want to progress you to is to where Matt started, with just being able to sit on the ground in this position. Now, from this position, we can basically just run through the same things that we did in the previous exercise. Matt's going to push down on his knee, and then he's going to lift that knee up against his hand of stone there, right? So where do we feel that in the hip there, Matt?
So I actually get it a little bit up here. I feel a little bit of stretch here, and then I actually get some glute, a little bit of a posterior glute, and it feels like a little bit of my hip rotators. So
Right.
deep under the butt cheek.
Good. Just where we're looking for.
Ooh.
And now we can put that hand down to the ankle.
Yeah.
Now when Matt lifts up there, we're kind of isometrically contracting into internal rotation of the hip. Where do we feel that?
Yeah, right around the greater trochanter, actually, I get a lot of it. That's where I tend to feel this.
Right.
Yep.
Right. So once again, we're contracting, relaxing. You can contract for 3 to 5 seconds. Go ahead and relax just to where you don't hold any more tension, and then contract again, right? That's very important. Rather than just sitting here, we want to actually do something to establish these positions. Yep. Now from here, we're going to go ahead and see if we could lift that foot off the ground, right?
Woo.
So as you can see, Matt's foot's getting a few inches off the floor, which is very good. When you start this, you might not be able to achieve very much movement at all, but if you keep working towards it, you definitely will be able to start to get some movement there. And in the beginning, if you want to start by just leaning the torso forward a little bit to get that movement, that kind of gets that hip to just understand what's going on here and kind of and to kind of control that movement. And then you can ease your torso back upright and then keep trying to get that same movement.
Yeah, and I think we should say again, cramping here is really common, so don't freak out if you cramp.
Right. Go into the cramp.
Yeah. Embrace the cramp. Now we've looked at 2 exercises that are pretty similar that both work to increase the strength of the muscles that would pull the femur into that internal rotation. What we haven't looked at is a stretch that can help you get the range of motion required to be able to pull through that range of motion. So that's what we're going to look at here. So this is an internal rotation stretch that's super effective, really, really helpful. It stretches out your external rotators so that you have the ability to internally rotate comfortably. So Josh is going to be my torture victim. He's going to be lying down on his side and showing you the most amazing internal rotation stretch ever. So it's a great stretch for your external rotators. So Josh is just going to lie down facing that way. And we have specially chosen these bright red shoes so that you can see what's going on. So he's lying here on his side. We're stretching out his right hip right now. So his right foot's just down here. We're taking a weight, and we're just going to put that weight down. Usually on the heel seems to be the best place to get it because that actually encourages a little more internal rotation of the femur. If you try this at home, you'll be able to tell if you place the weight in different places, it does do a little bit of different stuff to the leg. So anyway, right on the heel is pretty good. This is 25 pounds. That's about 10 kilos if you're out in the rest of the world that uses metric. And then we're going to take Josh's leg, it's going to go over this way. We're going to take his chest. It's going to go down towards the floor. And he's basically trying to get face down on the floor as much as possible. So his pubic bone is pointing down. His sternum is pointing down. Everything is down. And as you can see, this now forces the hip joint into internal rotation. So now Josh is getting a big stretch where?
I feel it on the backside, glutes, also a little bit in the upper inner thigh area as well.
Yeah, so common places to feel it are going to be out here and then also deep in here. So if I can show you here, you're going to feel it like all around the side, around the greater trochanter, and possibly also kind of deep up towards the medial hamstring attachment. So nobody take a screenshot of me doing that or poking Josh in the butt, please. It would be very embarrassing, and I think we both want to have long political careers. So this stretch is gentle. Do you feel any knee strain or anything here?
No.
As long as you position yourself well and just pay attention to making sure the knee never feels strained, you're going to get an awesome passive stretch in the external rotators. Just make sure you're always careful that you're not feeling strain in the knee. That's always been one of the biggest problems we've found with a lot of the popular internal rotation stretches is the knee is the thing that usually takes the hit, and that's no fun. Nobody wants to feel strain in the knee while you're doing anything. A couple different things Josh can do. He can kind of walk his chest over that way, so that gets him into more hip extension. So that's going to basically put his torso in line with that femur. So if you're like a hockey goalie, then that's something like butterfly, the butterfly save position, right? So how's that feel there, Josh? Does that move that at all?
A little bit higher up the butt muscles.
Okay, so it's kind of shifting what's getting stretched here. And if Josh moves the other way, he goes into more hip flexion. This is where it starts getting really helpful. If you're squatting, then this puts you more into that hip flex position and then stretches out the external rotators in that hip flex position, which will help you at the bottom of your squat. How's that doing?
Right, a little bit more intense this way.
Okay, so much more, well, a little bit more you said?
You could say much.
Much?
I wouldn't argue with that.
All right, so it's going to depend on you, but you can explore these ranges and see what you feel because some of you are going to be tighter when you're in the hip flex position. Maybe some of you will be tighter when you're more into that or less flex position in the hips. But explore around and just be careful that you never feel in the knee. You should be good to go. So this is a super nice prone loaded hip internal rotation stretch that we just love around here. So you can give that a shot and see how your hip likes it. All right, guys, so that's going to do it for today's video on hip internal rotation. Hopefully you found some good ideas and good tidbits. If you'd like to get access to detailed videos on all of our exercises, be sure to check out the Upright Insider program. And please remember that pain sucks, life shouldn't.
Do you think an hour is long enough?